The CBS just sat down with a national correspondent and asked him one question. Why are American men falling behind? And his answer was so honest that it stopped me. He said out loud on camera that we spent decades sending girls a message and never sent boys one at all. I want to watch this with you and pause it where it matters and talk about what they got right and what they missed and where the real answer actually comes from. All right, let's get into it.
Well, studies show across America, men are falling behind economically, educationally, and at home. Just 37% of men between the ages of 25 and 34 have a bachelor's degree compared to 47% of women.
Wow, that's a 10-point gap, and it's not closing. It's widening. If you're a guy in that age range right now, sit with that for a second. This isn't a feeling. This isn't online noise. This is a documented national trend. Something structural is happening to men, and it's happening quietly, but quickly.
This is according to Pew Research.
Yeah, this decline has fostered a search for answers, with influential voices promoting male strength and purpose. And a new documentary from CBS Reports explores how boys and men are struggling to navigate this new era and how an online ecosystem is shaping their beliefs, identities, and futures. CBS News correspondent Adam Yamaguchi is leading this documentary, and he's here to talk about his findings. We are so interested in this.
We were having a very spirited conversation.
Before we went on, we all have thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating. And, one of the things is, how did we end up here is the first question, right? Men are falling behind on all metrics at all ages in life. And over the last few decades, the preeminent message that's been out there is, let's support women. Let's give girls and women opportunities and access to education and advancement in the workplace that they haven't had before.
Which is great.
Which is all wonderful.
Right.
But what we didn't do, we stopped messaging anything to the boys. It was all about the girls.
This is the most honest sentence I've heard on mainstream news in a long time. He's not blaming women's progress. He's saying boys got silence. No blueprint. No one saying, here's what it means to be a man. Here's your purpose. Here's your path. And here's the thing about silence. It never stays empty. Something always moves in to fill it. That's exactly what I talked about in my video on the school system failing boys. This isn't new information to some of you. It's just the first time a major network said it plainly and straight. Let's continue.
And what we've seen with women have been tremendous advancements. They're outperforming boys in school. Salaries are increasing. Meanwhile, men are pulling out of the workforce. Fewer marriages means fewer men in households and fewer role models.
Right.
Read that cycle again. Fewer role models leads to fewer prepared men, which leads to fewer marriages, which leads to even fewer role models for the next generation. That's not a one-time problem. That's a loop. And loops don't fix themselves. Someone has to step in and break it.
Well, and we were showing some video just a second ago where you actually went to, it's basically a class on how to be a man in basic terms.
Yeah, that was fascinating. And in basic terms, what it means to be a man traditionally is be strong.
Right, so you see him playing sports.
Be strong, be athletic. What's interesting about this is, there's a week-long immersion course. These guys come out, they play basketball, they lift weights, and then they go out to clubs at night. And the requirement for each of these guys is you have to make 50 approaches to women.
What? 50 in one night? Think about what that's actually teaching a guy. It's saying your value as a man comes down to a quota, a number you have to hit before you're allowed to feel something. I get the surface appeal. Courage does matter. Confidence matters. But building your identity around a scoreboard is definitely exhausting, because scoreboards never stop demanding more points. And here's what I've come to believe after walking through some of this myself. A man doesn't need a bigger number to hit. He needs a fixed point that doesn't move depending on his mood or his win streak from last night. And this isn't a new idea I came up watching this report. This has actually been written down for thousands of years. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 in the NLT says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Jesus Christ, so we can do good things He planned for us long ago." Your worth was already assigned to you before you did a single thing to prove it. That flips the entire framework. The manosphere says, prove your worth. Scripture says it's already settled. Now go live like it's true.
Just to say hello, like that type of. It can be any number of things, right? And when I first heard about it, I thought people are clearly objectifying women, and God pushed back and said, no, no, no. What I want to do is, in this day and age, when we've forgotten how to forge social connections, this is about you gathering the courage and the confidence.
Notice the contradiction happening right here. The correspondent calls it objectifying. The coach reframes it as courage. And honestly, both of them have it half right. Approaching someone in person instead of hiding behind a screen, that part is good. We've genuinely lost that as a culture. But wrapping it in a nightly quota in a boot camp turns a real virtue into a performance metric. You can teach a man courage without turning women into a scoreboard.
Yeah.
You know, I do wonder, Adam, a little bit. I feel like we're a society where we want one answer, you know, like I even look at when it comes to diet and exercise, that type of thing. No one wants to do that anymore for weight loss, right? That you can't do the full range of things. It's like, let me take Ozempic.
Yeah.
People are looking for one answer right now to this problem. And it really, I think what you found is that there is no one answer.
There is no one answer. And there's so many, I mean, it's such a complex issue. We could talk about this for hours and hours. One of the things that I found really illuminating was we went to a high school in Ohio, and it started this program. It's a very, very rare program where about 24 or so students come together every month. They gather around a circle. These are all boys. And they talk about these issues. They talk about what it means to be masculine, what it means to be a man in this world at a time when social norms are rapidly changing. It's so confusing, right?
This is part of the report that actually got me. A room full of high school boys just sitting in a circle, talking honestly, with someone older in a room pointing the way. No scoreboard, no quota, no performance, just presence. I run a men's ministry at my own church, and I can tell you firsthand, this is what changes a man. Not a strategy, not a quota, a room. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18 says, "Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him." People read that and they think it's only about marriage. Yes, that's important, but it's bigger than that. Before sin ever entered the world, God looked at man in isolation and said something is missing. That is not a modern idea. That's the oldest diagnosis there is. This is the exact same thing I talk about in my video, Strong Men Don't Isolate. Isolation doesn't protect a man. It just delays the damage. Let's continue.
They're getting messages from their parents who grew up at a different time. They're getting manosphere messages.
And what is manosphere for people who don't know what we're talking about?
Oh, sure, yes. So manosphere is the online ecosystem. Essentially, it's a catch-all term for all sort of male-centric content, right? Now, at its extremes, we think about people like Andrew Tate, who peddle nothing but misogynistic content. But it can run the gamut. I mean, on the other end are fitness influencers, wellness people, dating coaches. So there's sort of something for everybody, but the commonality is boys and men who are kind of trying to look for meaning and trying to understand where they fit into this world.
That's the real definition of the manosphere, not a caricature. The actual root of it. It's not anger. It's not hatred of women. It's absence. Guys looking for meaning wherever they can find it, and taking whatever answer sounds more confident, even when it's wrong.
And they find answers from all these different places.
Sure. Well, Adam, this sounds fascinating. I know. I can't wait to watch it.
We can't wait to watch this one. We can talk about this forever.
And we can talk about it for many different reasons and generations of reasons. So thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. The new CBS Reports documentary, Boys to Men, Why America's Sons Are Struggling, premieres this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern on CBS News 24/7. And you can check it out on Paramount+.
Can't wait to see it. Thanks.
You know, they're right. There's no one single fix here. No app, no course, no quota. But there is a starting point. And it's not a strategy. It's community. Real community with someone further down the road actually pouring into you. So I think the CBS diagnosed this very well today. Boys today have no map, no message, no mentorship. What they didn't get into is where a reliable map actually comes from. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 7 says, As iron sharpens iron, a friend sharpens a friend. Iron doesn't sharpen itself in a room alone. It takes another man showing up consistently, calling you higher, and walking with you. And if this report and documentary hit closer to home, my challenge to you is simple. Stop trying to build your identity off a quota. Find 2 or 3 men who will actually know your life. Get in a room, even if it feels uncomfortable at the beginning. If this video helped you think a little differently, hit subscribe. I put out real conversations for men every week. Not soft content, not hustle culture, just honest truth about faith, brotherhood, and what it means to actually become a man worth becoming. Share this with a guy who needs to see it. And that's the better story. God bless.